knocked me back down, and I would have been huge triple later at that point, like 2.5. I think the next would have been like maybe 900,000 even. But I still, again, I had that kind of dogged thing. I went after it again, and I grew it up again, and I got pretty high up there. And then I lost again on the bubble to Tom Schneider. I had 2 queens against his ace jack. Same kind of situation, I just got unlucky. But that one stung. That one hurt.
I wanted to crawl under the table, so I know.
That one was really bad. That one just, people knew. Like, people, people, it hurt a lot, for sure. Because I always feel like I'm in this never-ending quest to prove myself. It's just the way that it is, being Barry's kid and all this kind of stuff, Because the bottom line is, if you win something, of course it's Barry's kid. You're supposed to win something.
Right.
Like, so, you don't get the credit. And if you lose, you do stupid things, and it's like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're Barry's kid. How can you be doing that? So, it can be a little bit tough. And anytime, especially after those final tables at the World Series, I've had chances to kind of punch through, and I haven't been able to. It stings a little bit more. Because whether it's just perceived by me or it's an actuality, I always feel like I have this need to prove myself.
Right.
And it could have just all been in my head, but, every time that it doesn't quite happen, it gets a little bit heavier, for sure. So that one burned. That one, that one bothered me for several days. And normally I can shake it off, after the first day or so, but that one definitely got me for a while.
But in reality, you've only been playing 3 years. Some people go years and years and years and they never make these final tables.
Well, so have I. So I'm right there with them.
But 3 years, that's really not a long time to be playing poker.
Well, I don't know. Isn't it? Maybe it's not in absolute sense. Maybe when you have some of the teachers I've had, maybe it is a long time.
Right.
So, I'm not knocking myself, and I'm not cutting myself slack at the same time. The bottom line is I feel like, again, I've had my shots. They've been 7th to 10th instead of 1st to 2nd. That's the problem. Right. But so much when you get down, you really just want to play to put yourself in that position. And I've been in that position, pretty, consistently. It seems like I'm always there. I'm always cashing. I'm always getting there. But you need a little bit of luck there at the end. Obviously, if an ace doesn't hit here or there, or this doesn't happen, then I punch through. Maybe I've won a WPT. But I don't like to think, hey, I've only been playing 3 years. I'm pretty great. Blah, blah, blah. I don't like to think like that, because you have to push yourself. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're not hard on yourself, and you're not applying yourself, and you're not pushing yourself, and telling yourself you need to do more, then you won't do more. Then you'll settle. Then I'll say, okay, well, I guess, I'm doing okay. I guess I don't need to worry about it. And the fact of the matter is, I do want to punch through. I have no illusions that I'm going to be the best poker player in the world, not by any stretch. But I know I can win these tournaments. I know I can win a WPT event. I know I can win a World Series event.
Right.
These things are not out of reach. So the things that aren't out of reach, I want to at least put my, best foot forward and try to get them.
Right. Well, you said before that one of your career goals was to win a 10K event.
Right. That's going great.
No, but so is that why you think it hasn't happened yet? You just, you've had 7th, and you just haven't punched through. You think, is there any other reason why you think it hasn't happened?
Well, there's no question, at different times I've gotten a little unlucky in these spots, but you can't chop it up to that. And part of it is just, my total attention deficit, mind, where I have to do 1,000 things all the time.
Right.
I got into poker, and I wasn't just a poker player. Before I even got into poker, I was writing for Card Player. So that right out of the chute, I was writing, I was playing poker, then I started blogging, then I started doing the radio show, with Gav and Scott, the circuit. So to be great at anything, to be great at poker specifically, you have to put in time and think. And there's no question that I don't put in that time. I'm too busy. I'm too busy, whether it's, now starting Poker Road or doing our own radio show. I just have too many things going on. Multiple times I've, been pegged to be commentators for different television shows and things. So it's just a lot of things, and while as a person, that makes me happy. The bottom line is I never want to be, when I die, I never want to be the kind of person that says, oh, I wish I'd done that, I wish I'd done that. The bottom line is I won't be at this point in my life, because I've done everything, and I've reached out for everything I can. So I love that aspect of myself. But at the same time, as a poker player, it's going to hurt you, and you have to accept that. So I don't think that there's any question that I don't play as well as I used to, maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. So is that a fair trade? I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it or not. Who knows? Maybe I'd be happier if I had won a 10K but didn't have all these other projects.
But that's what you want to do. You want to do different things.
Right. It is. It's what you want to do, and you take the good with the bad, And I definitely have done that, and I couldn't be happier. I've been involved with so many projects, with so many amazing people, and there's a certain intrinsic value to building something that you don't get in poker. It's wonderful to win a tournament, and you win a bunch of money, but to be involved in a radio show, or to be a writer, or to build a company. These are things like that are tangible, and at the end of the day, you can say, look at all these things. Like it makes you it's something you've accomplished. So in that sense, I'm definitely very, very satisfied. But I still want the 10K, man.
Right. Yeah.
I still want the mill. I still want the millie.
All right, let's talk about that radio show.
Which one, man?
The first one, The Circuit.
Yeah.
Arguably, like, the best radio show, they say.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it's the best radio show. The best incarnation. If you ask certain people, they'll tell you it's the best incarnation.
No, I know. So how did you get involved in that in the beginning?
The Circuit began, obviously, Scott Huff was doing it with Mike Matusow, and that was ugly. So, no, they actually did a good job. Mike was just a little bit out there. But, basically Mike ended up leaving the show, and Scott had done, a couple shows with me, and he's done a couple shows with Gavin, and I believe it was at Borgata that he decided he just wanted to give it a try. He wanted to have us both on at the same time. And he did, and it was just one of those, lightning in a bottle things. I mean, it just clicked, and it was funny, and we loved it, hanging out with each other, and we loved talking poker, and we loved joking. It was just one of those things that happened so fast, and people responded to it almost overnight. It became the biggest thing in poker so fast. The fans loved it, the interaction between Gavin and myself, and, this concept that Huff was a referee, and he was just trying to, block what he could. It was a lot of fun, and it certainly paved the way for so much of what Poker Road has become at this point. But yeah, I mean, it was just a great time. I mean, it was the class. It was, it's what started it all, basically. I mean, not to be too cliche, but it really is.
Well, what's the biggest challenge to keep the show alive? I know it's moved from Card Player to Poker Wire, and now finally it has a real home.
It does have a real. I like that. What was the biggest challenge? It's tough, Even for Gavin and myself, people don't always realize how tough it is to go to these tournaments and do these radio shows. We would do them after we busted. We would do them. We'd have to stay there, a week after we'd busted, all these kind of things. And we loved doing it, so it was all right. It wasn't that we needed a pat on the back. But it was tough. Even for Huff, I mean, it's not easy to run, a roving radio show. It's a difficult thing, especially trying to juggle, myself and Gavin. It's a lot of personalities, so I have to give him a ton of credit. I mean, he did an amazing job. So really, I think it was a bunch of things. I mean, there were a lot of egos that went into that thing, and somehow we made it all work. So I mean, I don't know if it was that tough for me. It'd probably be a better question for Scott, since he really manned the ship. Gavin and I were like passengers.
Well, you had Scott, but then you had Joe Stapleton, Bart Hansen.
We had Stapes on Poker Wire Radio, which was again a little different incarnation, a little more humor driven. And that was a blast. Because, I mean, Stapleton knows nothing about poker, so obviously we had to put a twist on it somehow. And that was, that was a good time. By that point, Gavin and I felt like, okay, we've been doing this for a while. We know how to do it. But Stapleton was great. He stepped right in. It was a totally new show, so we didn't know how it was going to work, if it was going to work, all this kind of stuff. But a lot of the fans that I run into on the road say that's their favorite show that there ever was.
Yeah, for
where's that amount of time that we did Poker Wire. So that was a blast too, just a little different. More of the same. Still Stapes now had the job of juggling everybody, dealing with the egos, making sure Gavin had drinks. Making sure that we showed up on time. But again, total labor